So, hey, Judy,
Terry,
how's it going?
well, it's going pretty good, all things considered.
All things considered, yeah. Life's crazy. Life gets all over the place. And it's so
I,
funny. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and it's so funny when, we go through different types of things in our lives. There's always some kind of saying or cliche that people like to throw out. It's, God can do anything but fail, or just one step in front of the other.
Mhm.
But sometimes there are a lot of truths that when you do not take some of those statements just on the surface, that when you meditate on them and reflect on them, um, they really have a lot of wisdom in them. And so there's one statement that we say in the faith community, or you hear a lot. And whenever I hear it, I think about you.
Hmm.
And that statement is God can hit a bullseye with a crooked arrow.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about that statement?
Well, the way I recall it was God can hit a moving target
There you
with
go.
an arrow. That's the way I remember the statement. Um, I think sometimes I believed, and sometimes I still believe, that life is linear, that we go from point A to point B to point C, and then we finally arrive at our destination.
Mm,
But my life has been one where I've had lots of zigzags along the way. It has not been and sometimes I've done figure eights where I feel like I've been here before and I'm
right.
doing this. And so, well, one of the things I've come to realize is that even in those what may be perceived as detours, I'm the moving target of
Mhm.
sorts, but that God's spirit and God's plan always ends up where I am. I can see God's hand, even though I may have done a zigzag and not a straight linear focus or straight linear direction,
Mhm.
to where I've landed and see how, this isn't how I would have planned it, but look what God did in the process.
Yeah. I love how you adjust that to the phrase of a moving target, because, like you said, we don't ever really arrive at a destination, and I think that's one thing that kind of sets people back sometimes. It's like, oh, once I get this, or once I achieve this, we never really arrive, and things are moving, and we don't even know where we're going, but God does.
Right.
And I love the whole idea that in that visual of it, we always feel inadequate. That, oh, I don't have this enough. I'm not equipped to do A, B, C, or D. However, um, those are just those are just the ingredients that God likes.
Right.
So, as you think about um, how you maybe had situations where you felt like it was a setback, is what kind of wisdom in that encourage you to keep going?
I think of several situations. I believe that one of my fallback mantras has been challenged even today, because when I go through bad hard times or bad situations, I would say, well, it could be worse. I can always figure out a worse scenario. And that worst scenario that I come up with is supposed to make me feel better about where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So today I was listening to someone share a story about their 5 or 6 year old losing his sight. And I can relate to that, right? And
Right.
so I was listening, and the woman was saying, well, it could be worse. He could be, XYZ, ABC. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I've been there trying to compare worst scenarios. Um, I remember sitting in Children's Hospital watching people with really sick children be rolled up and down the hallway thinking, that's not us. We could be in a worse situation. But one of the things that this man said today was to the caller was, don't minimize your grief. Your grief is just as real, even though it may not be the same as someone else's situation. And that's one of the things that I realized I didn't do when I was up against hard things. I would say, well, it could be worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think about is that God is sitting in heaven, and he is my God. He is my protector. He is my my friend. And that he is not as shocked as I have been when things have happened in my life.
Right.
He's not sitting in heaven saying, oh my goodness, that happened to her.
I'm
And
shocked.
so to know that my friend who looks over me and protects me allowed something gives me some sense of comfort that whatever it is, that he and I can get through it victoriously. And I cannot just say that sounding all spiritual, but I can tell you for a fact, like the old folk doing testimony service in church, I can tell you for a fact what he's done as a result, you know, of me looking back in retrospect, seeing that, yes, that was a horrible situation, but look what God did in the midst of all of that. Look how I grew, look how others around me grew. So that is my response to that question.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times when we do get in those situations, we believe, or any kind of setback, or like you said, where you're, oh, well, it could be worse. We start to think in our humanness that, oh, well, XYZ is never going to be achieved now, or I'm never going to achieve this goal. But that's because, like you said, we think more like us linear. And God is like, no, this is the way things go. And this is the right way for them to go. So that, yeah, all this moving target, I'm still going to hit it. No, you can't hit it without me.
Right.
Because you can't see the way, but I can.
Look at the life of Joseph. Talk about a moving target, you know, and not having a linear route at all. And then sometimes appearing to be going in a circle instead of even, you know, zigzagging. And yet in the end, how God just turned that whole story around for his glory.
Oh my God, that is so funny because, you know, earlier this week, I was looking at, I want to say it's Genesis 50, hold on. Let me see if I can get to it. But basically the whole of what you're talking about is what, you know, what the enemy meant for evil. God's working it out for my good. And I think, well, where is that? 50 and
yeah, that's what Joseph told
20.
Right.
Yeah. Genesis 50 and 20. But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. So that's good. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because as you bring it back to Joseph, because yeah, if we plot his whole story, it's like, oh, he's never got. But if we knew what the end was, we were like, how's he going to get there from here?
Right. Which makes me think about the end of our stories. You know, we've not been forsaken by our siblings and left for dead. We've not been thrown into prison and forgotten about for years. But we have had situations where we feel like, how's God going to work this out? I know I have, or I've been like, I'm treading water for a long, long time. How much longer do I have to tread water to get to what I believe God wants me to do next? And then I just been reminded about, going back to Genesis, looking at Abraham and Sarah, who were promised something that in the natural, how in the world could that ever happen?
Right.
They were promised it. It was hard to believe, but then it didn't happen for like 10, 15 years, even a longer time period. And I'm like, Lord, you know, I know you live outside of time, but sometimes I just wonder, can you give us a break? I mean, it's just a long time period between, you know, feeling like you've gotten a response or an answer to what you feel God has for you. Being able to look at Bible stories and characters and recognize that God is not pressed for time like we're pressed for time, and he is outside of time. And basically our time is his time. And so I relate, And I have been reminded that I need to get on his time schedule and not on my own. I've even thought about as it relates to work and the typical working career ending at in your mid 60s or whatever. But who says that?
Right.
That's what man says is our appointed time to retire. And yet you look at people that are doing great work for the Lord, many of them are much more older than the typical American retirement age. And some of them come to their full bloom well after that age. And so I've just been encouraged to not think that I'm on the downside of my career, but I've been really thinking about, okay, God, I got who knows how many more years to go. My mother turned 92 last week.
Yeah, amen.
Lets me know that I have a lot more years to go if my gene pool is aligned with hers.
Right. Yeah.
Opportunity for me to see God use me and for me to dream big dreams, because I have much more time to see those dreams come to fruition.
Well, I think your story will help a lot of people who maybe find themselves in that situation where, how can this story end out for good? Or, well, it could be worse kind of situation. So I appreciate you sharing that. Is there any parting piece of advice you'd like to give to anyone as it relates to that whole, hey, God's the one that's shooting the arrow, not you?
I think what I've been thinking about a lot during this pandemic time is my faith and what's my faith, what's it rooted in. For so long, I think I've been like a very mechanical Christian. I read my Bible, I pray, I go to church, and all those routines have been blown up in smoke. Yeah. And for many of us. And so for me, it's a matter of, okay, getting back to the foundational relationship, simple, basic, no frills time with the Lord. Yeah. And just so simple, just to get up and just look at my Bible and ask God what he wants to teach me. And I've just been continually amazed at how amazing this Bible is in terms of being able to, by the Spirit of God, touching my spirit, being able to help grow me anew and afresh during these past few months.
Yeah, that's sweet. That is really, it's beautiful because it challenges all of us to look at what is the routine religiosity versus the building of the relationship and taking that back to the foundation. So yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. And thanks for spending time in my sister's living room.
I had a good time in your living room.
Yes, and yours too. So thanks a lot. So hey, check us out on our YouTube channel and give us some comments or suggestions on topics you'd like to hear. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.